Cradle, Rise of the Chosen, Chapter 9. He left the village in the dead of night. He had lots of energy because with the sudden spiritual healing, the defeat of evil, and the young, beautiful woman he made his vow to, it all gave him zest, and he wanted to see where his travels would take him. He was confident that he would be found where he needed to be. Of course, Josh was in the back of his mind. He wondered if Josh knew more than he was letting on. He trusted Josh, no doubt. He just wanted to know exactly what this new, holy man wanted from him. The trees swayed in the silvery moonlight, and sometimes the nulti, fireflies, lit up deeper inside the groupings of tree trunks. Then a slightly odd but notably pleasant sensation started in his toes. It felt like the memory they held of walking all of his lifetime was being erased. He could see his brown toes in the leather sandals, and on the skin there was no change. And just as he saw nothing was of note, the feeling rose up his legs. He kept walking, starting to feel clearer and honestly carefree, especially with all the issues he was now faced with. He noticed that the ground was descending rather steeply. Higul Hiita, must be water nearby, he said. Then that same peaceful sensation in his feet and legs poured over his head, and as he descended the hill and the morning sun rose, all his troubles seemed quite far away. When he made it to the beach, he wondered how he made it to the ocean so quickly and had no worries about where he truly was. The Bisrael, the Pacific, was beautiful. There were beautiful clear pools of what looked like fresh water behind the white beach sandbar. Women in pure white gowns were filling baskets with seaweed and coral from these pools. They wore gold or silver head wraps, and some had beautiful singis. There were about 60 women on the beach working lazily or sitting on beach lounge chairs while reading books, and some of them had the most beautiful dark golden skin. By the time Takuma got close enough to yell at them, many of them were looking his way and smiling. He smiled back, awash in a peace. He turned his head to notice that there was a network inside the golden cliff space. White banisters had silk white curtains flapping in slow motion towards the Bisrael. There were flocks of little green, red, and blue birds making their routes around this beautiful kingdom. Takuma assumed this had to be a kingdom. Sure enough, on the top of the windowed cliff was a white grand cathedral with white doves roosting all over it. Hiji, Mima, Dosial. Go inside, traveler, one of the women with the basket strapped to her back said reassuringly. Yitu, hua. Get you something to eat, she added. He walked along the back of the white sandbar, stepping into the fresh water pools here and there, just to feel the cool water. He waved at the woman and finally noticed he must appear odd in his black cloak, but something stopped him from taking it off. He noted there were no men in sight and thought they'd all be inside. It may be a Soti, male-led society, Takuma thought. He was walking toward a huge cave in the golden cliffside. There was a huge balcony planted in the cliff face above the mouth of the cave, and inside the cave was a wide waterway where a golden, shining sailboat was harbored, but there was no one on it. In the back, behind the boat, he saw a gold-curtained entrance into the network, he presumed. As he walked the length of the ship, he took in its opulence and felt even more swell. This was all too good, he thought, but maybe it was a gift of some sort. As he passed the flowing inner curtains, the hallway greeted him with wide, oriental carpets of crimson, cornflower blues, and whites with flower pots on top of expertly carved tables with cherry wood stain. As he walked past the doorways, he peeked a few times to see women talking and sipping what looked like to be champagne, or some were doing yoga while others were dyeing fabrics with flutists playing ethereal music. It all became a blur. He awoke in a feather bed with a silk silver sheet on him. A woman approached from the seashell-covered doorway. Iotil Gimini Not Dielu? You really needed your rest, a brown-skinned maid said. Takuma had a shocked look on his face and put his hand over his groin. He was still on that pleasant high. Otro genie. We know, she said and giggled. Genie Tumil. Know what? Takuma asked. Iutu Siandua. About your bond. Mioti Tikul. Thank God, Takuma said. The woman gave a fleeting look. You have to go to the library, the maid encouraged. Fitu, right. Iitul Ayuman? Any food? Takuma asked. She pointed past the flowing curtains to the large balcony where there were platters of fruits of bright colors, veggie sandwiches, and all types of vegan dips and chips. Takuma couldn't have smiled wider. The maid nodded and left. He lay back down on the feather bed and looked up to see the crenulation was a pattern of the symbols of the 6 gods. It wouldn't be unusual in a village such as this, so he put it out of his mind. After he ate to his satiation, he walked out into the plush hallway, still adorned in his black cloak. For some reason, he refused to put on the white or gold robes laying in the bathroom on the counter. Some part of him remembered that a black robe signified Olhita, and he thought about his mother's dreams for him, but it was as if the presence of peace inside him was now plucked away with that thought, and he would have forgotten all about it, but his right eye pulsed with a strange new power or sensation. However, he still left the thought behind as he entered a marble-walled hallway with serenely dancing young girls and teen girls expertly playing golden harps. Tinji, Natal, Mal, Wesui, still no men, Takuma muttered to himself. Somehow he found his way down to the library where hundreds of melting white candles were set in the walls. The library glowed amber, and Takuma expeditiously grabbed an armful of books on astronomy, and somehow he was finishing tomes in mere minutes and piecing together concepts of physics and making mental maps of the night sky and heavens in his head. He was retaining everything without effort. He was on his last book and then stopped once he reached the back cover. A woman standing to his left at the end of the massive oak table cleared her throat, and he looked to her in her confident smile. Her lips were done in purple, and her golden skin shone in the candlelight. Yuti moi? Yes, my lady. She nodded. Itrioli, Higby, Sutulu. This was your gift from the queen. Takuma smiled widely at her now, and that he understood the ease of which he gained his vast knowledge so fast. Wotul, bir, diu atu. Do you want to see her to thank her? The woman added. Sortijib. Sortijib. Very much so. Very much so.